Shalom, shalom, mashpaka, shalom. Shalom to the elder Ak, Yahuwah. Shalom to the younger Ak, Ephraim. Shalom to the stranger, the Gar, who has engrafted into us, whereby becoming an adopted son, whereby having thrown down their idols, thrown down their uncleanness, and having engrafted into the Bayif of Yasharal through Hanassah, through Yahushua HaMashiach, whereby becoming partakers of the covenants again, and of the promise and of the inheritance that was given to Yasharal and to Yasharal alone. Shalom, shalom to you worldwide, wherever your feet touch the soil on this yam. Shalom, shalom to my mashpaka, to the whole Bayiv of Yasharal. Shalom, shalom to you on this yam. Shalom, mashpaka, shalom. Yahuwah previously made a couple of videos through me. It was actually one long video divided into two. And it was entitled The Covenant of Creation and the People of Yahuwah. And it was entitled Part 1. And then Part 1 continued, Who is the Yaqid? Who is the Yaqid? But in those videos, it was made mention that this teaching was going to have more than one part, that it was a detailed teaching and that it was going to have to be segregated or separated into more than one part. Well, true to form, I'm back speaking now. Yahuwah has now sent me back to speak about the covenant of creation and the people of Yahuwah. And if you have not watched Part 1 and Part 1 continued, go ahead and shut this off right now. Don't even continue, and go back and watch them first, and then come back and watch this one again. And this will be true to the remaining videos as well. Don't watch them out of order, because you're going to miss something if you do it that way. So nevertheless, this is going to be Part 2 of this teaching, and you've already seen the title of the video by now, The Covenant of Creation and the People of Yahuwah, Part 2. Asau, or Esau, despised his birthright. What about you? What about you? That is the prevailing question. Asau despised his birthright. What about you? What about you? First question you should ask is, what is the birthright that he despised? What is the birthright that he despised? Now, most will, from the surface, think that that has something to do with the inheritance, which is the land, which it does. He gave up the land. But is that all? Is that all? Is that all that Esau gave up was the land? And again, the prevailing question is, if that is not all that he gave up, then what then is the birthright? What then is the birthright? And so along this series, continuing in the covenant of creation and the people of Yahuwah, again, this will be Part 2. All of the subsequent parts are all going to be entitled, Asau despised his birthright, what about you? But this teaching, again, is going to be separated and segregated into different parts because it's long and it's detailed. And I don't want to, I know the attention spans of some are short. And so I want to keep this as the length of these videos as reasonable as possible. Nevertheless, so not to delay this message or this teaching any longer, we'll begin answering this question with respect to the birthright that Asau despised. In the beginning, Barashif, which means in the beginning, the book of Genesis, chapter 25, and I'm going to read verse 20 through 34. So beginning at verse 20, it reads, And Ishkak was 40 years old when he took Ribkah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Arama'an of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Arama'an. And Ishkak prayed to Yahuwah for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahuwah answered his prayer, and Rebekah, and Rabakah, commonly called Rabakah, or actually properly called Rabakah, but commonly called Rebekah. And Rabakah, his wife, conceived, and within her the children struggled together. And she said, If all is all right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to her, Listen, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people shall be separated from your body. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other. The older serve the younger. And when the days were filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. So they called his name Asau, or commonly called Esau. And afterward his brother came out with his hand holding on to Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. And Ishkak was 60 years old when she bore them, and the boys grew up. Listen, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt. And also became a man knowing how to hunt. I need you to bookmark that, a man knowing how to hunt, because we're going to speak more about that here momentarily. But I need you to bookmark this, because now Yahuwah is going to uncover to us what is the birthright, and why did Esau despise it, and why was it passed to Jacob? So first off, now he's showing us some characteristics between these 2 men. And so it reads on, and also became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field. Listen, while Jacob was a complete man. Now the Abarit word here is for complete is Tom, spelled T-A-M, and we're going to address that as well momentarily. But the Abarit word here for complete is Tom, the Abarit word Tom, spelled T-A-M. So he was a complete man, listen, dwelling in tents. So now he is uncovering different characteristics between these 2 men, which is a piece to the puzzle of uncovering and unveiling to us why Esau despised his birthright, and why it was passed to Jacob. Again, what is that birthright? Is it simply the land? Or is it something deeper? Is it a deeper context? So he's unraveling the characteristics of these 2 men. And Ishkak loved Asau because he ate of his wild game. But Rebekah loved Jacob. The question is, why did Rebekah love Jacob? Keep listening. Yahuwah is going to uncover this. And Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. That is why his name was called Adum, which means red or ruddy. But Jacob said, Sell me your birthright today. And Asau said, Look, I am going to die, so why should I have a birthright? Then Jacob said, Swear to me today. And he swore to him and said sold his birthright to Jacob over food. Reading on. Jacob then gave Asau bread and stew of lentils. And he ate and drank and rose up and left. Thus Asau, listen, despised. And the Abarit word here for despise is baza. It's the Abarit word baza. And it is spelled B-A-Z-A-H, baza. And it means careless, contempt, despicable, despised. Despises, disdained his birthright. So he was careless with his birthright. It was despicable to him. He despised it. It was contemptible to him. It was contemptible to him. All of these words describe his attitude towards his birthright, which was counted as just a little thing, a small thing to him. He despised it. He despised his birthright over food. He despised his birthright over food. Now, I mentioned that Esau was a man of the field, knowing how to hunt. And Jacob was a tom man. In the text here, at least in this translation, transliterate that word, the Abarit word tom, or translates that transliterated Abarit word tom into meaning complete. And so there, the characteristics of these two men is being established. The characteristics of these two men is being established. And this is very important to understand now why the birthright was given to Jacob and why Esau despised his birthright. Again, what is the birthright? We're going to uncover this. We may not uncover it today. I don't believe we are. But in subsequent videos, Yahuwah willing is. So I mentioned again that Esau was a man of the field, knowing how to hunt. Where have we heard that before? Where have we heard that before? In the same book in Bereshith, of Genesis, the 10th chapter. Now I'm going to read verse 6 through 12. Beginning at verse 6, it reads, And the son of Cam, commonly called Ham, Cush, and Machraim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Sabah, and Haulah, and Sapta, and Ramah, and Saptaka. And the sons of Ramah, Shaba, and Dadan. And Cush brought forth Nimrod. Listen. And Cush brought forth Nimrod. He began to be what? Mighty, a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahuwah. He was a mighty hunter before Yahuwah. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahuwah. And the beginning of his reign was Babal, and Arak, and Akkad, and Kalna, in the land of Shinar. From the land he went to Ashur, and built Nineveh, and Rauboth, and Kala, and Razan, between Nineveh and Kala, the great city. Kala, the great city. So we see here that Nimrod was not only a hunter of animals, but he was also a hunter of men. He was also a hunter of men. How do we know? Because he became mighty in the earth. He became mighty in the earth. Indeed, if you read the apocryphal books, you understand that Nimrod was indeed also a hunter of men. He was a mighty hunter. No one could stand before Nimrod. No man could stand before him. He was a mighty hunter before a mighty hunter on the earth. So now we see that Esau and Nimrod both shared this characteristic, because indeed Esau was also a hunter of men. He was also a hunter of men. I mean, you can derive this from not even reading the traditional 66. You can derive at this. You can arrive at this conclusion with merely reading the 66. You don't have to read the apocryphal books to arrive at the conclusion that Esau was also a hunter of men. He had this characteristic, and he shared this characteristic with Nimrod. And so he did so because why? because he and Asau have the same father. Indeed, indeed, they share the same characteristic because Nimrod and Asau have the same father. Who is that father? Well, we'll let Scripture declare who that father is. Who is that father? We're going to allow Scripture to declare who that father is, and we're going to allow Scripture to declare what the birthright is that both, actually, Nimrod and Asau despised, that they both despised. Continuing now to unravel this puzzle, turn now to YAHUAH, Jeremiah, the 16th chapter. We're going to read verse 14 through 21. We're still talking about hunting, the hunting of men, being a mighty hunter on the earth in the sense of Nimrod with respect to Nimrod, and how Asau was also a hunter of men. How Asau was also a hunter of men. So reading now in Yahu, 16th chapter, verse 14 through 21, we read, "Therefore see, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when it is no longer said, Yahuwah lives, who brought us up the children of Jasher from the land of Mashraim. But Yahuwah lives, who brought up the children of Jasher from the land of the north, and from the lands where he had driven them. For I shall bring them back into their land, and I gave to their fathers. See, I am sending, I am sending for many fishermen, declares Yahuwah, and they shall fish them. And after that I shall send for many hunters. And after that I shall send for many hunters." Now again, there were two nations in the belly of Rebekah, and they struggled in her belly. In other words, they fought with one another. They struggled against one another. And the point has been made that Esau became a hunter. He became a man acquainted with hunting and a man acquainted with the field. We've also read, and it's been established, that Nimrod was also a hunter. Both a hunter of animals, and he became mighty on the earth, indicating that he was also a hunter of men. So reading here again, it says, "See, I am sending for many fishermen." Fishermen. Who were fishermen? If you're a student of Scripture, you know who fishermen are. You know who fishermen are, declares Yahuwah. "And they shall fish them. And after that I shall send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and every hill and out of the holes of the rocks." We're still establishing characteristics here. We are still establishing characteristics, indeed. We're still establishing characteristics. "For my eyes are on all their ways. They have not been hidden from my face, nor has their crookedness been hidden from my eyes. And first I shall repay double for their crookedness and their sin, because they have defiled my land with their dead bodies of their disgusting matters, and have filled my inheritance with their abominations. O Yahuwah, my strength and my stronghold and my refuge, in the day of distress the nations shall come to you from the ends of the Arats, commonly called earth, and say, Our fathers have inherited only falsehood, futility, and there is no value in them. Would a man make mighty ones for himself, which are not mighty ones? Therefore see, I am causing them to know. This time I cause them to know my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is Yahuwah. And they shall know that my name is Yahuwah." Now, getting back to, we're still in the characteristics of both men, and as to, establishing why Asau despised his birthright, and why it was passed to Yaqub, and indeed why Ishkak chose Asau, and why Rebekah in turn chose Yaqub. There was a reason. There was a reason for this. There was a reason for this. And it was because of their characteristics. It was because of their character. It goes a little deeper. We're going to get into this. But now we are Yahuwah is uncovering what is the birthright. What is the birthright that Asau despised? And that is intimately intertwined or entwined with their characteristics. And so the text declares that Asau was a man of the field, knowing how to hunt. And again, he shares this characteristic with Nimrod. They also shared this characteristic with the rest of their brothers. But that Yaqub was a Tom man, a Tom. And again, that is translated as complete. It says that he was a Tom man and a man of the tents, a man of the tents. So let's look at that word, the Abarit word Tom, and it is Strong's Hebrew number H8535, and it is comprised of the Abarit letter Tau, and Tau is represented by X. I need you to hear because this is foundational. Tau is represented by X, hear me, mark, hear me, seal, hear me, sign, via ownership. This is Tau. This is the first letter comprised of the transliterated Abarit word Tom. So the first letter is Tau. The second letter is Mom. And it is represented by water, by chaos, by mighty, and by blood. So it is the Abarit letter Tau, and Mom. Tau and Mom. So we see now in the description of Yaqub being described as Tom. We see here in this word which describes his characteristics. In the word Tom, we find the characteristics, listen, of someone in covenant with Yahuwah. In the indicative of the Tau, which is represented by X, mark, seal, sign, ownership. You see, Yahuwah is the Aleph. He is the beginning. Aleph being represented by an ox and power. He is the beginning, and Rosh. He is the beginning and the everlasting covenant. He is the Aleph and the Tau. Tau representing covenant. So again, in Tom, we are now seeing the characteristics of someone who is in covenant with Yahuwah. Because in Mom, the Abarit letter Mom, we find that this is represented by water. And water is representative of spirit. It is representative of Ruach, of spirit. Hence, those who believe in the Hamashiach, out of their bellies will flow what? Rivers of living water. This is indicative of spirit. This is indicative of spirit. Not only that, but Mom is also represented by blood, by Dam. Dalet Mom. It's also represented by blood, Dam. We hear the Mom in the Abarit transliterated word Dam. Why is that? Because again, wherever you see the letter Mom, this is representative of spirit. Spirit is represented, is a representation of life, of Chai. Without water, nothing can live. Without blood, nothing can live. The life of the creature is in its blood. And so here we see now that someone in covenant with Yahuwah, the characteristics of this person is that he's a quiet man. He's quiet. He's Tom. He's complete. But most importantly, we find what? The seal, the mark, and the sign of relationship. Because again, the Tau also represents ownership. It also represents ownership. Again, it is represented by X, mark, seal, sign, ownership. X mark, seal, sign, ownership. Okay, so, but most importantly now, we find, again, in the characteristic of someone who is in covenant with Yahuwah, indicative of the mark, of the seal, of the sign, we find that this is a sign of relationship, of ownership, and our covenant in the person of the Ruach HaKadosh. It shows who owns us. It shows who owns us. If we have this seal, this sign, this mark of the covenant, which is the Ruach HaKadosh, it shows who owns us. It shows who owns us. And so, again, in the Abarit word tam, we find the characteristics of someone who is in covenant with Yahuwah. Again, that's a quiet person. A quiet person, not one who is given to much words, to many words. A quiet person. And this person also has the sign, the seal, the mark of covenant, which is the Ruach HaKadosh. The Ruach HaKadosh, as we find the letter mom in the word tam. We find the letter mom in the word tam, which is always representative of Ruach. So to recap, he's a quiet person and he has the Ruach HaKadosh. To make it simple, he's a quiet person, he or she is a quiet person, and they have the Ruach HaKadosh, which if you have the Ruach HaKadosh, if you have the water, if you have the blood, then this is illustrative, or this is evidence that you are in covenant with Yahuwah. That you are in covenant with Yahuwah. So this was the characteristics of Yaqub. This was a characteristic of Yaqub. But Asau was not Tom. He was not Tom. He was described as a man of the field, knowing how to hunt. But Yaqub was described as a Tom man. And again, as Yahuwah has uncovered, this is the characteristic of someone who is in covenant with Yah, as the Abarit word tam unveils. So looking at the word tam, looking at some definitions of it, it means complete, usually morally pious, specifically, listen, gentle, dear, coupled together, perfect, plain, undefiled, upright, perfect, complete, one who lacks nothing in physical strength, beauty, etc., sound, wholesome. Listen, an ordinary, quiet sort of person, complete, morally innocent, having integrity. So this is the characteristic of someone who is in covenant with Yahuwah, who has his Ruach. This is someone who has love, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, who is trustworthy, who is glad, who is gentle, and who has shalom. This is the fruit of the Ruach. This is evidence of someone who is in covenant with Yah. On the other hand, it gave a different characteristic for Asau. But the question remains, however, what is the birthright? What is the birthright that Asau despised? And you should know by now why he despised it, by his characteristics, by his very characteristics. So reading on, now staying in the same book, Barashith, the 26th chapter, reading verse 11 through 24, beginning at verse 11, we read, And Ishkak sowed in that land, and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and Yahuwah Baruch him, a commonly called blessed. That's a pagan word, and this is why I do not use it. I use Baruch instead. Blessed is derived from the pagan word blotzen, which represents a pagan blood ritual. Thus, I use the word Baruch for blessed, Baruch for blessed, Barak for bless, and Barakah for blessing. Barakah for blessing. And the man grew great and went forward until he became very great. And he came to have possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great body of servants. And the Philistines envied him. And the Philistines had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, and filled them with dirt. And Abimelech said to Ishkak, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. So Ishkak went from there and pitched his tent in the Wadi Garah, and dwelt there. And Ishkak dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham, his father. For the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham, and he called them by the names which his father had called them. But when Ishkak's servants dug in the wadi and found a well of running water, there the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Ishkak's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. And he called the name of the well Asau, because they strove with him. And they dug another well, and they strove over that one too, and he called its name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it, and he called the name Rehoboth, and said, for now Yahuwah has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And from there he went up to Baal-sheba, and that is the well of Oath. And Yahuwah appeared to him the same night and said, I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you, and shall barak you, and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. That's the question. That's a very foundational question, and that question is, who is Ishkak's seed? Who is Ishkak's seed? Who is his seed? Because it says here now, for I am with you, and shall barak you, and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. Who is his seed? Who is his seed? We're going to get to that in this teaching. We're going to get to that in this teaching, because that's very foundational in determining what's the birthright. What's the birthright, and to whom it was given to, and why did Esau reject it? Why did Esau reject it? Continuing to uncover this mystery now, reading in Bereshith, Genesis 27 chapter, beginning at verse 1. And it came to be, when Ishkak was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau his elder son, and said to him, my son. And he answered him, here I am. And he said, see now, I am now old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me. And make me a tasty dish such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does barak you before I die. And Rebekah heard when Ishkak spoke to Esau, his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt with wild game and to bring it. And Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, see, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me the wild game and make me a tasty dish to eat, and barak you in the presence of Yahuwah, and barak you in the presence of Yahuwah before my death. Barak him with what? Barak him with what? The birthright. But what is the birthright? But what is the birthright? And why didn't it go to Esau, who was firstborn, and to Jacob? To Jacob. We're still uncovering this, and Yahuwah is going to cover this as we read on. But this is very foundational. This is very foundational. Reading on. And now, my son, listen to my voice according to what I command you. Please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves. and you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might barak you before his death. Why did Rebekah go through all this trouble? Why did Rebekah go through all this trouble? Why did she risk both her and her son being cut off and being cursed? Why did she risk this? What caused her to risk this? To give Yaqub these instructions, to go into Yaqub to receive the barakah, to receive what is commonly called blessing, to receive the barakah of the birthright. The barakah of the birthright. What's the birthright? What's the birthright? What is the birthright? Reading on. Reading on. And to Yaqub said to Rebekah, her mother, see, Asau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am smooth-skinned, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself, and not a barakah. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Wow. Let your curse be on me, my son. Why was this so important to her that Yaqub received the barakah and not Asau? Again, this question is partially answered in looking at their characteristics and looking at the characteristics of the two men. But reading on, only obey my voice and go get them for me. And he went and fetched them and brought them to his mother. And his mother made a tasty dish, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took the best garments of her elder son Asau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Yaqub, her younger son. And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Yaqub. And he went to his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Who are you, my son? And Yaqub said to his father, I am Asau, your firstborn. I have done as you said to me. Please rise, sit, and eat of my wild game, so that your being might barak me. But Ishkak said to his son, how is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because Yahuwah your Elohim brought it to me. Then Ishkak said to Yaqub, please come near, so that I feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son Asau or not. And Yaqub went near to Ishkak his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is the voice of Yaqub, but the hands are the hands of Asau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother Asau's hand, and he baruch him. And he said, are you truly my son Asau? And he said, I am. And he said, bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might barak you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Ishkak said to him, please come near and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his garments, and baruch him, and said, see, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which Yahuwah has baruch. And Elohim give you of the dew of the shamayim, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Listen. He's giving him a barakah. He's giving him a barakah. Listen to this barakah. And Elohim give you of the dew of the shamayim. All the dew of the shamayim. Listen. Of the fatness of the earth. All the fatness of the earth. And plenty of grain and wine. I emphasize all. I emphasize all. I emphasize all. And by the conclusion of this teaching, you're going to understand what he meant. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and baruch be those barakut you. And it came to be, as soon as Ishkak had finished barakah or barakut, Yaqub, and Yaqub had hardly left the presence of Ishkak, his father, that Asau, his brother, came in from his hunting. Remember, he was a hunter, a man a man of the field, acquainted with hunting. That's part of his characteristics. That's part of his characteristics, along with the characteristics of Nimrod. Again, they share the same father. And he too had made a tasty dish and brought it to his father and said to his father, let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might barak me. And his father Ishkak said to him, who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Asau. Then Ishkak trembled exceedingly and said, who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came. And I have barak him. Yes, he is Baruch. When Asau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, barak me too, O my father. And he said, your brother came with deceit and took your barakah. And Asau said, was his name then called Yaakov? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright, and see now he has taken my barakah. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my barakah. You see, Asau did not understand that the birthright and the barakah go hand in hand. They are synonymous. You don't get the barakah unless you have the birthright. You don't get the barakah unless you have the birthright. And he didn't understand that. You don't give away your birthright and think you're going to get the barakah that is associated with the birthright. It don't work that way. It doesn't work that way, and it still doesn't work that way. You don't get the barakah unless you have the birthright. What is the birthright? What is the birthright? Yahuwah is going to reveal that, maybe not in this video, but he's going to reveal it as he uncovers it in this teaching. And he said, have you not reserved a barakah for me? Then Ishkak answered and said to Asau, see, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son? And Asau said to his father, have you only one barakah, my father? Barak me too, O my father. And Asau lifted up his voice and wept. And Ishkak his father answered and said to him, see, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth, and the dew of the shamayim from above. And by your sword, a hunter of men, not unlike Asau, a hunter of men, not unlike Nimrod, Listen, and by your sword, because they have the same father, you are to live and serve your brother. And it shall be, when you grow restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck. And Asau hated. So here's another characteristic. Here is another characteristic. Now, the Torah tells us that we are to what? We are to love our neighbor, our brother, as we love ourselves. Even in the Brit Kadashah, which teaches Torah, which is still Torah, Yaqub, through Yaqub, it is written that if we hate our brother, then the love of Elohim ain't in us. We don't belong to him. If we hate our brother, we cannot say that we love Yahuwah, whom we have not seen, and hate our brother who we see. See, this is Torah. Torah declares that we're to love our neighbor or our brother as we love ourselves. See, Yaqub was a man of the tent. He was a quiet man. A tom, indicating covenant. Indicating covenant via the tau, and indicating Ruach, spirit, via the Abarit letter mom. There was no hate in Yaqub. Listen, and Asau hated Yaqub because of the barakah with which his father baruch him. And Asau said in his heart, listen, the days of mourning for my father draw near. Then I am going to kill my brother Yaqub. And the words of Asau, her oldest son, were reported to Rebekah, and she sent and called Yaqub, her younger son, and said to him, see, Your brother also comforts himself concerning you to kill you, to kill you, to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice, and rise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away. Indeed, we're still uncovering the characteristics of the two. And in uncovering the characteristics of the two, establishing why Asau despised the birthright and why it was given to Yaqub, and indeed, what is the birthright? What is the birthright and the barakah that goes along with the birthright, and the barakah that goes along with the birthright? Listen, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away, until your brother's displeasure turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Ishkak, I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Kaf. If Yaqub takes a wife from the daughters of Kaf, like these who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me? What is my life to me? Genesis 28, Bereshit 28, verse 1 through 9. Beginning at verse 1. And Ishkak called Yaqub and Baruch him, and commanded him and said to him, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And Al Shaddai barak you, and make you fruitful and increase you, and you shall become an assembly of peoples. Listen, and you shall become an assembly of peoples, and give you the barakah. Listen, and give you the barakah of Abraham. What's the barakah of Abraham? And give you the barakah of Abraham to you and your seed with you. I need you to bookmark that. We may get to that in this message or in this video, or maybe not, but we're going to get to it later. And give you the barakah of Abraham to you and your seed with you, so that you inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave to Abraham. So Ishkak sent Yaqub away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban son of Bethuel, the Arama'an, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Yaqub and Asau. And Asau saw that Ishkak had barak Yaqub, and sent him away to Padan Aram, to take himself a wife from there, and that as he baruch him, he gave him a command, saying, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Yaqub had obeyed his father, and that Yaqub had obeyed his father, and that Yaqub had obeyed his father and his mother, and gone to Padan Aram. So Asau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Ishkak, and Asau went to Ishmael and took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nabayuth, to be his wife besides the wives he had. Besides the wives that he had. Now we're going to get into some understanding now with respect to the specific characteristics of both men. And in uncovering these specific characteristics, Yahuwah is going to show us now why Asau despised his birthright, and why Yaqub, why it was given to Yaqub. And I want to bring something else to your attention, that it was spoken to Ishkak, by Yahuwah, that his seed was going to be fruitful. That his seed was going to be fruitful. Turning now and continuing to uncover this mystery, I'm going to read to you from Yashar, or the book of Jasher, chapter 26. Let me look at the time. Okay. still doing good. Jasher, chapter 26, and I'm going to read verse 1 through 39. Beginning at verse 1, it reads, "And in the 59th year of the life of Ishkak," and this is just another account of what we just read in Barashith to add more context as to the characteristics and the character of both of these men. And in uncovering this, making the determination as to why Yaqub was chosen and Asau was rejected. And Asau was rejected. Reading on. "And in the 59th year of the life of Ishkak, the son of Abraham, Rebekah his woman was still barren in those days. And Rebekah said unto Ishkak, Truly I have heard, my master, that your mother Sarah was barren in her days, and to my master Abraham your father prayed for her, and she conceived by him. Now therefore stand up, pray you also to Elohim, and he will hear your prayer and remember us through his compassion. And Ishkak answered his woman Rebekah, saying, Abraham has already prayed for me to Elohim to multiply his seed. Now therefore this barrenness must proceed to us from you. And Rebekah said unto him, But arise now you also and pray, that Yahuwah may hear your prayer and grant me children. And Ishkak hearkened to the words of his woman, of his Aisha. And Ishkak and his Aisha, his woman, his wife, rose up and went to the land of Moriah, to pray, or commonly called Moriah, to pray there and to seek Yahuwah. And when they had reached that place, Ishkak stood up and prayed to Yahuwah on account of his woman, his Aisha, because she was barren. And Ishkak said, O Yahuwah, Elohim, of Shamayim and earth, whose goodness and compassion filled the earth, you who did take my father from his father's house and from his birthplace, and did bring him unto this land, and did say unto him, To your seed will I give this land, and you did promise him, and did declare unto him, I will multiply your seed as the stars of Shamayim, and as the sand of the sea. Listen, I will multiply your seed. Your seed. This is very foundational, because this same promise was given to Ishkak. This same promise was given to Ishkak. I will multiply your seed, as the stars of Shamayim, as the sand of the sea. Now may your words be verified, which you did speak unto my father. So now the question is Yaqub his seed, or is Asau his seed? I know they both came from the womb, but are they both his seed in terms of the birthright and the barakah? You already know that answer. But now the question is, why was Yaqub chosen and Asau rejected? Now Yahuwah has already uncovered their characteristics. But let's now let him continue to uncover their characteristics. For you are Yahuwah Elohim, our eyes are toward you to give us seed of men, as you did promise us. For you are Yahuwah Eloheinu, and our eyes are directed towards you only. And Yahuwah heard the prayer of Ishkak, the son of Abraham, and Yahuwah was entreated of him, and Rebekah, his woman, conceived. And in about 7 months after, the children struggled together within her, and it pained her greatly that she was weary on account of them. And she said to all the women who were then in the land, Did such a thing happen to you as it has to me? And they said unto her, No. And she said unto them, Why am I alone in this amongst all the women that were upon earth? And she went to the land of Moriah, to seek Yahuwah on account of this. And she went to, listen to who she went to. And she went to Shem, or more appropriately Sham, the son of Noah, Ruach, and Eber, his son, to make inquiries of them in this matter. Why did she go to them? It's going to make sense. And that they should seek Yahuwah in this thing respecting her. And she also asked Abraham to seek and inquire of Yahuwah about all that had befallen her, and they all inquired of Yahuwah concerning this matter, and they brought her word from Yahuwah, and told her, 2 children are in your womb, 2 nations shall rise from them, and 1 nation shall be stronger than the other, and the greater shall serve the younger. The greater shall serve the younger. See, this is why it's important to read what the world calls extra scriptural text, but it's just scripture. It's just scripture. You can't get a complete understanding of scripture. You can't. Some things scripture doesn't tell us that other scriptures, which is labeled as apocrypha, which means hidden, which hidden scripture reveals to us. Now, reading a traditional 66, you wouldn't have known that Abraham was alive during the time when Rebekah was pregnant. You wouldn't have known that Shem was alive, or Shem was alive. You wouldn't have known that Eber or Aber was alive during the time of Rebekah's pregnancy. Now, again, we're still uncovering their characteristics. And why is it that Jacob was chosen and Asau was rejected? Reading on. And when her days to be delivered were completed, she knelt down, and behold, there were twins in her womb, as Yahuwah had spoken to her. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and all the people of the land called his name Asau, saying that the one was made complete from the womb. And after that came his brother, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. Therefore they called his name Jacob. And Ishak, the son of Abraham, was 60 years old when he begot them. And the boys grew up. Listen. Some very foundational information is getting ready to be revealed. And the boys grew up to their 15th year, and they came amongst the society of men. Asau, was a designing and deceitful man, and an expert hunter in the field. A designing and deceitful man, and an expert hunter in the field. Listen to Jacob's characteristics. And Jacob was a man perfect and prudent, or wise, which is falsely called wise. Dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, and learning the instructions of Yahuwah and the commands of his father and mother. And Ishak and the children of his household dwelt with his father Abraham in the land of Canaan, as Elohim had commanded them. So now we're uncovering some very foundational information with respect to the characteristics of both men, and in uncovering the characteristics of these men, gaining an understanding as to why the birthright was passed to Jacob, and Esau was rejected, and showing the reason as to why Esau was rejected. Reading on. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, went with his children and all belonging to them, and they returned there to this land, to the land of Havilah, and they dwelt there. And all the children of Abraham's concubines went to dwell in the land of the east, for Abraham had sent them away from his son, and had given them presents, and they went away. And Abraham gave all that he had to his son Ishak. All that he had. Why? Because this is the law of inheritance. All that the father has goes to the firstborn. Why? Because he is the first to split the womb. He is the beginning of his father's strength. The firstborn is the beginning of his father's strength. This is very foundational. Meaning what? Meaning the firstborn is more like his father than any of the other children. He's the beginning of his father's strength. He looks more like his father. He acts more like his father. He is the beginning of his father's strength. And so all that the father owns, all that the father, operative word father, all that the father owns is given to his firstborn, the beginning of his strength, who looks just like him and acts just like him. and acts just like him. So he gave all that he had to his firstborn, the beginning of his strength, Ishak. I know it's Ishmael, but Ishmael wasn't the son of promise. He wasn't the son of promise. We're going to get into this. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Ishmael was not the son of promise because he was not like his father Abraham, but Ishak was. And he also gave him all his treasures. And he commanded him, saying, do you not know and understand Yahuwah is Elohim and Shamayim and in earth, and there is no other beside him? And it was he who took me from my father's house and from my birthplace, and gave me all the delights upon earth, who delivered me from the counsel of the wicked. For in him did I trust. And he brought me to this place, and he delivered me from Kasdaim. And he said unto me, to your seed will I give all these lands, and they shall inherit them when they guard my commandments, my statutes and my judgments that I have commanded you, and which I shall command them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, and guard the commandments of Yahuwah Elohim, which I commanded you. Do not turn from the right way either to the do not turn the right way either to the right or to the left, in order that it may be well with you and your children after you forever. And remember the wonderful works of Yahuwah and his kindness that he has shown towards us, in having delivered us from the hands of our enemies. And Yahuwah Elohim caused them to fall into our hands. And now therefore guard all that I have commanded you, and turn not away from the commandments of your Elohim, and serve none besides him, in order that it may be well with you and your seed after you. Your seed after you. And teach your children and your seed the instructions of Yahuwah and his commandments, and teach them the upright way in which they should go, in order that it may be well with them forever. And Ishak answered his father and said unto him, that which my Adani, my master, has commanded, that will I do. And I will not depart from the commands of Yahuwah Elohai, my Elohim. I will guard all that he commanded me. And Abraham Baruch his son. Listen. And Abraham Baruch his son. Baruch him with what? With the barakah. He Baruch him with the barakah, because Ishak had the birthright. We're still talking about the birthright that Asau despised. Ishak had the birthright. And Ishak was the beginning of his father's strength. Again, I know Ishmael was the firstborn according to the flesh. I won't get ahead of myself. I know that Ishmael was the firstborn according to the flesh, but Ishak was his firstborn in terms that he was more like his father than any of the other children. He was the beginning of his father's strength. He looked like his father. He acted like his father. He was more like his father than any of the other children. And so that should give you understanding now as to why Jacob was chosen and Esau wasn't. Even though Jacob wasn't the firstborn according to the flesh, you need to understand here by what we're reading that he was more like his father Ishak, and by extension Abraham, than Esau. And thus the barakah that was given to Abraham and that was passed down to Ishak then passed down to Jacob, because the barakah, again, from the father always goes to the eldest, always goes to the firstborn. The beginning of his father's strength are the one that looks like him and the one that acts like him. So reading on, Ishak speaking here, he says, I will guard all that he commanded me. And Abraham Baruch his son Ishak, and also his children. And Abraham taught Jacob. Listen here. And Abraham taught Jacob. The instruction of Yahuwah and his ways. Now, Jacob was described as a Tom man, which Yahuwah has already uncovered is indicative of having the Ruach HaKadosh. which is indicative of having the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, as he's already uncovered here just briefly, just a moment ago, that the barakah is given to him who has the birthright. And if you have the birthright, that means that it was passed to you because you are firstborn, and that you are the beginning of your father's strength, meaning that you look more like your father than anybody else, and you act more like your father than anyone else. And so Abraham recognizing that he was more like him than Esau, listen, he began to teach Yaakov the instructions of Yahuwah. He began to teach Yaakov the instructions of Yahuwah. And it was at that time, and Abraham taught Yaakov the instruction of Yahuwah and his ways. And it was at that time that Abraham died in the 15th year of the life of Yaakov and Asau, the sons of Ishkak. And all the days of Abraham were 175 years. And he died and was gathered to his people in a good old age, old and satisfied with days. And Ishkak and Ishmael, his sons, buried him. And when the inhabitants of Canaan heard that Abraham was dead, they all came with their kings, with their sovereigns, Malachim, and princes, and all their men to bury Abraham. And all the inhabitants of the land of Haran, and all the families of the house of Abraham, and all the princes and grandees and the sons of Abraham, by the concubines, all came when they heard of Abraham's death. And they requited Abraham's kindness. Listen. And they requited Abraham's kindness, because now we're getting ready to understand Abraham's characteristics. And in understanding Abraham's characteristics, who was given the barakah, who was given a birthright, who was given a barakah, in understanding Abraham's characteristics, now we can understand why he was so interested in Yaakov, who also had his characteristics, who got those characteristics from his father Ishkak, who also had the characteristics of his father Abraham. Listen, and they requited Abraham's kindness and comforted Ishkak his son. And they buried Abraham in the cave which he bought from Ephron, Kittayim, and his children for the possession of a burial place. And all the inhabitants of Canaan and all those who had known Abraham wept for Abraham a whole year. Listen, they wept for this man, our father Abraham, a whole year. And men and women mourned over him, and all the little children and all the inhabitants of the land wept on account of Abraham. For Abraham, listen, had been good to them all. For Abraham had been good to everybody. And listen, in order for Abraham, again, to take that interest in Yaakov, that meant that Yaakov was like him. He was like him. You couldn't have gotten the distinction of firstborn without being like your father. You can't. This is why it's given to the beginning of the father's strength, normally to the beginning of his father's strength, because he looks more like his father and acts more like his father than any of the other children. So listen. But Abraham had been good to them all. And if you're not like this, again, you're not a son of Abraham. You're not a son of Abraham. But we're still talking about the birthright. And because he had been upright with Elohim and men, and there arose not a man who feared Elohim like unto Abraham, for he had feared his Elohim from his youth, and had served Yahuwah, and had gone in all his ways during the life from his childhood to the day of his death. And Yahuwah was with him and delivered him from the counsel of Nimrod and his people. And when he made war with the four sovereigns, the four Malachim of Elam, he conquered them. And he brought all the children of the earth, and he brought all the children of the earth to the service of Elohim. And he taught them the ways of Yahuwah and caused them to know Yahuwah. And he formed a grove. Still talking about his characteristics, which Ishkak shared, and by extension, Yaakov shared. We're still talking about the characteristics. The characteristics here now of someone being in covenant with Yahuwah, which we have been shown that is a tam, a Tom person, indicating covenant and Ruach and covenant. You can't separate the two. You cannot have if you don't have the Ruach, you ain't in covenant with him. You're not in covenant with Yahuwah if you don't have the Ruach with him. The Ruach within you. The Ruach within you. So these going on with the characteristics of Abraham, and in understanding the characteristics of Abraham, we now understand the characteristics of Ishak as firstborn, being more like his father than Ishmael. And now we understand the characteristics of Yaqub being more like Ishak than Asau, and being more like Abraham than Asau. And he formed a grove, and he planted a vineyard therein, and he had always prepared in his tent meat and drink to those that passed through the land, that they might satisfy themselves in his house. And Yahuwah Elohim delivered the whole earth on account of Abraham. And it was after the death of Abraham that Elohim Baruch his son Ishak and his children. And Yahuwah was with Ishak as he had been with his father Abraham. For Ishak kept all the commandments of Yahuwah as Abraham his father had commanded him. He did not turn to the right or to the left from the right path which his father had commanded him. I'm going to read now Jubilees 19. And I think I'm going to stop right here until part 3. Because I don't want this video to go too long, because I want it to be a reasonable length so that his people get this. So reading now in Jubilees 19, just to expand a little bit more on the characteristics of Abraham and Ishak and Yaqub, and as to why the birthright was given to Yaqub and not Esau. It was given to Yaqub and not Esau, and establishing what is the birthright. What is the birthright? So reading now Jubilees 19, beginning at verse 1, it reads, And in the first year of the first week, in the 42nd Jubilee, Abraham returned and dwelt opposite Kabrum, that is Kiryat Arba, 2 weeks of years. And in the first year, the third week of this Jubilee, the days of the life of Sarah were accomplished, and she died in Kabrum. And Abraham went to mourn over her and bury her, and we tried him to see if his Ruach were patient, and he were not indignant in the words of his mouth. And he was found patient in this, and was not disturbed. For in patience of the Ruach he conversed with the children of Kah, to the intent that they should give him a place in which to bury his dead. And Yahuwah gave him favor before all who saw him, and he besought in gentleness. Listen, more characteristics. Love, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, trustworthiness, gladness, gentleness, and shalom. This is the fruit of the Ruach. Listen here. And he besought in gentleness the sons of Kah. And they gave him the land of the double cave over against Mamre, that is Kabrum, for 400 pieces of silver. And they besought him, saying, We shall give it to you for nothing. But he would not take it from their hands for nothing. For he gave the price of the place, the money in full. And he bowed down before them twice. And after this he buried his dead in the double cave. He bowed down to them twice. Again, now, gentleness, meekness, and humility. These are more characteristics. These are the characteristics, the very same characteristics that we found in Ishak and that we found in Yaqub. Where did they get these characteristics from, you ask? He's going to uncover this, maybe not in this teaching, this particular video, but he is going to uncover this. Where did they get these characteristics from? All three of these men had these characteristics. They were gentle, they were meek, they were lowly, they were humble. Hallelujah. Reading on, and all the days of the life of Sarah were 127 years, that is 2 jubilees and 4 weeks and 1 year. These are the days of the years of the life of Sarah. This is the 10th trial wherewith Abraham was tried, and he was found steadfast, patient in the Ruach. And he was found steadfast, patient in the Ruach. And he said not a single word regarding the rumor in the land, how that Elohim had said that he would give it to him and to his seed after him, and he begged a place there to bury his dead. So he knew that Yahuwah had already given him the land, but yet he humbled himself and bowed before them with meekness and humility and gentleness. He dealt with them, and he purchased the cave from them, even though Yahuwah had given him the land. More characteristics. More characteristics. These same characteristics Ishkak had. These same characteristics Yaqub had. And this is why he was chosen as firstborn. But we're going to continue. We're going to continue now. For he was found steadfast and was recorded. Let me go back here. Let me go back. And he said not a single word regarding the rumor in the land, how that Elohim has said that he would give it to him and to his seed after him, and he begged a place there to bury his dead. For he was found steadfast and was recorded on the tablets in Shamayim as the friend of Elohim. And in the 4th year thereof, he took a woman for his son Ishkak, and her name was Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor, the brother of Abraham, the sister of Laban, and daughter of Bethuel. And Bethuel was the son of Milcah, who was the woman of Nahor, the brother of Abraham. And Abraham took to himself a third woman, and her name was Keturah, from among the daughters of his household servants, for Hagar had died before Sarah. And she bore him 6 sons, Zimran, and Yakshan, and Madan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shuach, in the 2 weeks of years. And in the 6th week, in the 2nd year thereof, Rebekah bore to Ishkak 2 sons, Yaqub and Asau. And Yaqub was a smooth and upright man, and Asau upright man. And Asau was fierce. Again, Nimrod shared these very same characteristics. Nimrod had these very same characteristics. Why? Because they had the same father. They had the same father. Some of you don't understand that. I pray that at the end of this teaching you will. And Asau was fierce, a man of the field, and hairy, and Yaqub dwelt in tents. And the youths grew, and Yaqub learned to write. But Asau, did not learn, for he was a man of the field and a hunter, and he learned war. And he learned war. No different than Nimrod. No different than Nimrod. Remember, it was said that he was a hunter of men. Both Nimrod and Asau was a hunter of men. Remember, we read in Yahuwah, I believe it's the 16th chapter, how Yahuwah was going to first send fishermen. He was going to first, he is and was going to first send fishermen. Then he's going to send hunters. Now you should begin to understand who that hunter is. Who that hunter is to come. Oh yeah, he's getting ready to unleash a hunter on this earth. If you don't have discernment, he is getting ready to unleash a hunter on this earth against who? Against his covenant children, against his birthright children, against his fishermen, Reading on. And the youths grew, and Yaqub learned to write, but Asau did not learn, for he was a man of the field and a hunter, and he learned war, and all his deeds were fierce. And Abraham loved Yaqub. Why? Because Yaqub was more like him. Yaqub was more like him. He was his son. Yaqub was his son. Yaqub resembled him. He looked like him. His ways were like him. And so he loved Yaqub. And Abraham loved Yaqub, but Ishkak loved Asau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Asau, and he knew that in Yaqub should his name and seed be called. And he called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Yaqub. This is why Rebekah risked what she did, because Abraham had commanded her. because Abraham had commanded her. Listen. And he called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that she too loved Jacob much more than Asau. And he said unto her, my daughter, watch over my son. Listen, he called him his son. He called Jacob his son. Why? Because Jacob was more like him than Esau. Watch over my son Jacob, for he shall be in my stead, on the earth, and for a barakah in the midst of the children of men, and for the esteem of the whole seed of Shem. And for the esteem of the whole seed of Shem. Here's Shem again. Here's Shem again. For I know that Yahuwah will choose him to be a people for possession unto himself above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. Now, this is why I said, if you haven't watched the first two videos, that you need to watch the first two videos before watching this one, so that you gain a proper context and understanding. And behold, Ishkak, my son, loves Asau more than Jacob. But I see that you truly love Jacob, and still further to your kindness to him. And let your eyes be upon him in love, for he shall be a barakah unto us on the earth from henceforth unto all generations of the earth. Let your hands be strong, and let your heart rejoice in your son Jacob, for I have loved him far beyond all my sons. He shall be Baruch forever, for I have loved him far beyond all my sons. And he shall be Baruch forever. His seed shall fill the whole earth. If a man can number the sand of the earth, his seed also shall be numbered. And all the barakah wherewith Yahuwah has baraked me and my seed shall belong to Jacob, and his seed always. And in his seed shall my name be Baruch, and the name of my fathers, Shem, and Ruach, and Kanuk, and Mahalalel, and Anush, and Shaph, and Adam. You see. Woo. So these characteristics in which Abraham displayed, and in which Ishkak displayed, and in which Jacob displayed, they learned these characteristics from, well, let's say Jacob and Ishkak learned these characteristics from Abraham, and Abraham, who possessed these characteristics, he learned them from Shem, and from Ruach, and from Kanuk, and from Mahalalel, and from Anush, and from Shaph, or commonly called Self, and Adam. And Adam, who were what? All firstborn. All firstborn. And by extension of being firstborn, the birthright was theirs. The birthright was theirs. Not only the birthright is theirs, the barakah is theirs. The barakah is there. What is the birthright? What is the birthright and what is the barakah? We're going to get to that. But we're uncovering now that these characteristics that Abraham had, and that Ishkak had, and that Jacob had, were passed down to them from Adam. From Adam being firstborn to Shaph, to Enosh, Anush, to Mahalalel, to Hanuk, to Ruach, to Shem, to Eber or Abba, to Abraham. These characteristics and the firstborn distinction and the birthright and the barakah was passed down from Adam down through Abraham, Ishkak, and Jacob. So they got these characteristics from them, from these men, from these righteous men. And by the way, if you don't have these characteristics, then you're not descended from these men. You're not descended from these men. But we're still uncovering now what is the birthright. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're still talking about what is the birthright. But we're in talking about what is the birthright, we're uncovering characteristics. We are uncovering characteristics. So let me finish this. I don't want to go too long. And these shall serve to lay the foundations of the Shamayim, and to strengthen the earth, and to renew all the luminaries which are in the expanse. And he called Jacob before the eyes of Rebekah his mother, and kissed him and Baruch him, and said, Jacob, my Yakid. Yakub, my Yakid, my beloved, my only begotten, whom my soul loves. May Elohim barak you from above the expanse, and may he give you all the barakah wherewith he Baruch Adam, and Kanuk, and Nuach, and Sham, and all the things of which he told me, and all the things with which he promised to give me. May he cause to cleave to you and to your seed forever, according to the days of Shamayim above the earth, according to the days of Shamayim above the earth, and the Rukuf of Mastema. This is the name of Hashatan, and the Rukuf of Mastema, that's Hashatan, shall not rule over you or over your seed to turn you from Yahuwah, who is your Elohim, from henceforth forever. And may Yahuwah Elohim be a father to you, and you, listen, and may Yahuwah Elohim be a father to you, and you, the firstborn son. He's getting this, Abraham now is giving him the distinction as firstborn. Even though Asau was born as firstborn, Abraham bestowed this distinction upon him because of his character. And indeed, you will know them by their fruit, family. You will know them by their fruit. You will know them by their fruit. I don't want to get ahead, but let me finish this up. And who is your Elohim from henceforth forever. And may Yahuwah Elohim be a father to you, and you the firstborn son, and to the people always. Go in shalom, my son. And they both went forth together from Abraham. And Rebekah loved Yakub with all her heart and with all her soul very much more than Esau, but Ishkak loved Esau much more than Yakub. Much more than Yakub. So I'm going to stop there. And Yahuwah willing, we'll continue sometime this week with part 3. Stay tuned. And if, again, if you're just watching this, stop. Watch the first 2 videos. The first 2, the covenant of creation, the people of Yahuwah, part 1, who is the Yakid, and part 1 as a part 1 and a part 1 continued. Watch them first before moving forward. So until then, until part 3, and until Yah willing, I come before you again. And Yahuwah spoke these words to Masha, saying to him, speak to Aharon and his sons. Say to them, this is how you are to barak the children of Yashar'al. Say to them this, Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yashar'al, and I myself shall barak them. So be it, so be it, so be it. Shalom.